Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your January 2023 tarot card and astrology readings. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you all so much for being here. For those of you who are new, my name is Jane. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for joining with me on this wonderful new journey this year. So as always, these monthly readings are separated into two segments. So the first segment is the tarot card reading, which is much more intuitive. And the second portion is the astrology section. Now, please feel free to watch these for your sun, moon, or rising sign. However, I do recommend your rising sign for the astrology portion, just so you can get a more accurate viewpoint on what your transits are actually going to be. And don't forget that if you are a member on my website, janeinternational.com, that you'll be able to log on and access the comprehensive readings as always. And if you're not a member and would like to join, you are more than welcome to do that as well. Or you're also free to just do a one-time single purchase of the comprehensive reading, just like we've always done. So let's go ahead and get into these readings for the month. Thank you again. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in just a sec. Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your January 2023 tarot card reading. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's go ahead and take a look and start with one of my intuitive cards here. See what comes through for you guys for January 2023 for Gemini. Okay, I'm feeling like there's a lot of counter adjustments going on. Like, you got to go here, and then you got to go here, and then here, and here, and here, and somehow it's all going to work. And it may feel a little discombobulated, and it may feel strange, and it may feel like it's really all over the place, but in actuality, it is leading you perfectly. And this just may be symptomatic of Mars being in your sign and stationing direct on January 12th. And so I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of January, you realized how everything was coming together, okay? And all of a sudden, a lot of stuff starts to make sense, and you're like, oh, okay, that's why I had to go here. That's why I had to meet with that person. That's why that conversation happened. And things that may have seemed like complete dead ends actually have a place in all of this. So there's going to be some kind of, I don't want to say it's like an epiphany, but maybe a realization. Maybe that's a good word to use. There's definitely going to be some kind of a realization for you as to how divinely guided you actually have been and you are. And there's going to be a lot more faith going forward. A lot more faith and a lot more feelings of security and a lot more feelings of just feeling like aligned and like things are right. This does seem to be a story of alignment for Gemini. Magician, beautiful. Love to see it. Magician is initiating. He's powerful. This may not necessarily be happening in the physical realm quite yet. The magician is still kind of extracting a lot from the astral realm and from the cosmic spaces. He is in a position, though, of being highly receptive and ready. Gemini, I do think you're ready for a lot of stuff. You know, you're ready for that new amount of money. You're ready for that relationship. You're ready for that career boost. You're ready for that new home. And I think the readiness is starting to beget results that you're going to be really happy about and really proud of. So what's going on in your environment, Gemini? Who's out there that you need to be paying attention to? We have the King of Coins, beautiful. So there does seem to be an element of like a financial element, okay? Now I like the fact that he's looking, now I'm going to lay the 9 cards here. I like the fact that he's looking into the reading, meaning he's involved. So he's interacting with you, communicating with you. He's a part of it. Maybe there's an advisory role. You know, maybe some of you are starting to take mentors, or you're starting to, I don't know. For some reason, guidance is just coming through. Not quite sure why. But I see him as an affluent figure and a highly experienced figure, probably older than you. There's a maturity or an age factor with the King of Coins. He also has an element of ease about him. He lives a very ease-driven life. All right, that's one of the most important aspects for him. He just wants things. I mean, that's not to say he can't work hard, but he would prefer for things to be easy, which I think we can all relate to, you know? And he has his life set up in such a way that it is easy. And he doesn't have to think about things all the time. He doesn't have to have stress in his life. And so perhaps this person is really inspiring for you, and maybe it's someone you aspire to be, or you aspire to have that kind of a lifestyle to some degree. And maybe this person is very willing to share with you. Probably is someone you either know. Some of you may be hiring someone. Some of you may be seeing someone that you really connect with online, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person is talking directly to me. I'm so glad I found this person's website or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, or YouTube. And you just kind of extract a ton of information from them. And there is a generosity component with the King of Coins, meaning he's not going to be greedy. He's not going to keep things to himself. He's definitely going to share, because the King of Coins realizes that the only way to guarantee his own affluence is to create more affluence in those around him, okay? To create more abundance and more prosperity around him. So that's why he is so generous. So we have the Page of Wands, the Ten of Cups reversed, and the Devil reversed. Well, I really like the Devil reversed, because it indicates the shedding of the shackles, all right? Meaning, like, no more are these chains going to have any power over you, Gemini. And I think that has been the theme for a very long time, so it's not a surprising theme, just given the fact that you've had so much 8th house activity. But I do sense things coming to a close. This is the last Capricorn season before Pluto comes into Aquarius for the first time in 248 years. Okay, so, I mean, it's like this is the last time. Now, I'm not saying he'll be there next year as well, as he retrogrades back into Capricorn or whatever, but a retrograde is a little bit different than like the first go through. Okay, he's kind of in shadow phase here. So there's a massive release, and you may feel, Gemini, that January is a month of purge. That January is a new beginning. And I hate to say that because it's such cliched language, but it's true. And I look at that Page of Wands and I see a lot of enthusiasm, and he is not aiming toward any false hope. He's not aiming towards something like that's delusional or way too idealistic or naive. You know, he's not going after something that's a naive goal. He's going after something that's real and actually attainable, and probably your life experience over the past several years has maybe brought you down to earth, maybe not in the easiest way, maybe a little bit too humbling, but at least in a way that allowed you to get your bearings around everything and to get a really solid sense of reality. Okay? The Page of Wands with the Magician over here, he's so just like filled with passion. And yes, he is filled with hope, not false hope, but he is filled with real hope. And there's a lot of self-belief coming through for Gemini as well. I believe I can create this. And I don't necessarily see Gemini as being one of those signs that struggles with that specifically. I mean, obviously your own individual circumstances, you're still a human being. But generally speaking, I think the air element signs, they tend to just kind of live their life, and they may not spend as much time thinking about whether or not they're worthy or not. They just go enjoy their life. And if you have been dealing with that kind of stuff, like feelings of worthiness or whatever, I believe January is going to be a massive turning point for you. Like, thank goodness, like a really good one. Turning point toward the good stuff. So let's see. So we have the Seven of Swords, We have, 9 and 10 of Cups in the reversal. I'm like, I don't think Gemini is even really thinking about what's going to make them happy. Like, decisions right now from Gemini are not rooted in happiness. Decisions right now are rooted in what you feel compelled to do. Like, you feel compelled to finally write that book. You feel compelled to go live a new lifestyle. You feel compelled for your freedom. Whatever it is, it's just something you have to do. And I think with the Page of Wands, he's willing to take chances. He's willing to take a chance of whether or not this is going to work out or not. That's not the point. It's not about success or failure. It's about doing. And I think a lot of people aren't going to understand that. I will tell you, though, that the King of Coins will understand it. And because this is it's a weirdly practical, like optimistic and practical approach to something. And it has an element of whimsy, but also an element of realism. Like, there's definitely a lot of balance going, that actually makes sense here with these kind of like intertwining. Kind of looks like the two snakes on the caduceus, or DNA strands, or, whatever you want to look at it. But it is kind of has these opposing forces. So the duality certainly could be a big part of it. I feel that there's, because of that, though, that's why that arrow can go straight. It can go straight because there is weird balance. Like, the fact that you're feeling two opposing things isn't necessarily for you, Gemini, right now. It's not necessarily an indication of you not being in alignment. In fact, it's a sign of you being in alignment. It means you're going to move forward and make choices in a way that's not like based on your brain going so far left or so far right and talking you into one or the other thing. It's like straight down the center. This is about doing. Gemini, you just have to do stuff. You just have to put yourself out there. Page of Wands, you just have to put one foot in front of the other. Do not overthink this. Yes, your ruling planet is retrograde. I acknowledge that. I'm a Virgo. Of course, I know. I'm definitely paying attention to this retrograde. For you, yes, it is in the 8th house. I get it. So it is transformative, but for you, it's transformative of the mind. And maybe it's actually going to quiet the mind quite a bit. It's not a time for overthinking. I'm looking at the 7 of Swords. It's honestly not. And I also don't think it's really a time for you to look backwards into the past. This is time for the future. It's time for the upcoming year, time for the upcoming decade, where we only think about what's ahead of us. I don't know, Gemini, that your traumas are necessarily, now this is a blanket statement and will not apply to everybody or every Gemini, but I just genuinely don't think that the traumas are really operating right now. You may feel weirdly numb or weirdly neutral about stuff, and you may be wanting to get like that emotional excitement and that enthusiasm, and you want that like hit of dopamine or whatever. You're not going to get it, but that's actually the best place for you to be, is to be like chemical free. You just do it. You have a goal, you set your mind to it, and you just do it. And in so doing, you are breaking the chains of your past, the chains of your past. I've been saying for the past couple of months, and if you watch my weekly readings or my weekly astrology, you know that I've been talking about a lot. I've really been talking a lot about how action is how we are healing right now. That by taking action and executing on our ideas and delving into our passion and our desires and doing the things, we're healing a lot of the resistance that we've experienced in the past because of traumas. So by doing, we overcome. okay? But you are breaking the chains of the past. That's very clear to me right here. Very, very clear. Okay, so we got the Page of Coins. Beautiful. I like the page energies this month a lot. There's a playfulness and just a willingness to like learn. Just a willingness to just do. It's, Queen of Swords. There's that Libran neutrality, right? That's a Libra card. And the Hanged Man. Actually, I'm looking at this row here. This row seems really cohesive. It's all saying the same thing. The place where you were stuck was rooted in your childhood, and those are the chains that are breaking. It's very clear. I mean, it's exciting. Because what happens after this is like a massive explosion of activity. And with activity, there's abundance that comes, there's more ideas, there are more people, there are more opportunities, and there's more money, and there's just more. So you're kind of moving into this more explosive place. Now, when Pluto comes into that 9th house in March, now again, it will come back into Capricorn and then come back into Aquarius. So it's not like for sure, totally in the 9th house until 2024. But you're going to get a little touch of it. And yes, 9th house is extraordinarily expansive, and Pluto can bring almost an obsessive desire. So when we bring an obsessive desire into that 9th house of spirituality and consciousness and religion and faith and learning and knowledge and travel and culture and all sorts of beautiful things that come through there, that's why we're going to see that explosion 2024 and beyond. I know that's really far out in the future, but like this has to happen first while Pluto is still in that 8th house, because 8th house is all about being buried under stuff and feeling karmically tied and karmically unable to break away from things. There's a lot of heaviness through there. And Pluto in the 8th house can sometimes obsessively keep those things alive. Okay? So when he comes out, you're free. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, okay? I wish it happened overnight. It won't happen overnight. It will be a process. But you have been, this is not the first time I'm saying this kind of stuff. You have been seeing a lot of the preparatory and preemptive signs, okay? And like I said, you're ready. You're like ready, ready for more, ready for better, ready for healthiness, ready for abundance, ready for prosperity, like whatever it is, you name it. But this delayed, this having no control, having your hands tied behind your back, hanging upside down on a tree, like this is what is breaking down. And slowly but surely, right, with the pages, you creep forward, and you are going to have to contend with your own individual psychology, okay? That's not going to go away. You're going to still have to put one foot in front of the other, and you're going to have to contend with the doubts and the fears and the shame and the embarrassment and all the stuff. But because you are acting in spite of it, kind of, that is ultimately what ends up getting healed. And like I say, this is a very neutral way forward. Queen of Swords, I don't even know, like the best word is neutrality. Gemini, just feeling neutral. It may come as a feeling of numbness, but actually that numbness, please do not misinterpret it. Okay, it may feel a little boring, may feel a little mundane, but it's actually really, really healthy. It's like your nervous system and your adrenals and your fight or flight responses coming out of those states, and you're reaching an equilibrium within your body. And with that, you're going to kind of reach a greater state of wholeness and integration. And you're going to have more energy because of that, because you're not all fragmented all over the place. So it's this whole process. But man, you're ready, and it's great, and it's super exciting, and you're going to do so well. There's not a doubt in my mind that the future looks really positive for Gemini as long as you want it. Now, just because the planets are moving doesn't mean everyone's going to change their life. A lot of this has to do with choices. It has to do with decisions. You may witness people go on pretty nasty spirals. If you're cross-watching for a Gemini, you might watch a Gemini spiral out of control a little bit. Right? It's all about choice. There's a choice in everything. Every card is a choice here. So you got at least 11 choices, right, with these tarot cards. Okay, let's go ahead and pull out the clarifier. So for those of you who are new, these cards I'm about to pull out are the cards we cover in the comprehensive reading, and all the information is found in the description box and the comment thread down below as to how to access. Please just make sure that you read everything thoroughly so you select the right option for yourself, okay? So let's go ahead and clarify this Magician, which is what else does the universe need from Gemini for January? What else does the universe need from Gemini for January? Ooh, neutrality. I don't even know what to say. It's all so beautiful. That notion of balance, very strong. Tower, not surprising. Towers are really common when we're coming into this equilibrium here. So we'll talk about that. Super common though. Got the 5 of Swords. Got the 8 of Wands in the environment, which is exciting. Ooh, even more exciting, the 6 of Wands. Last but not least, we have the Judgment. Now for the 9-card block. We start with the Page of Wands. What else does Gemini need to know for January? Gemini for January. Oh, beautiful King of Cups. We'd love to see that. Ace of Wands. Another 6 of Wands. This is what I mean. A lot of success and victory. It's written, well, I want to say written in the stars, but basically it's written in the cards. I could say that. 3 of Wands. Page of Coins. Another page. Love the pages. 4 of Swords. A lot of patience for Gemini. No, oh, another page. Wheel of Fortune. Oh my goodness, I am loving this reading so much. Another King of Coins. See, this King of Coins is going to really help you with your 7 of Swords stuff. I'm getting such a high quality feeling from that person. It's like they're going to... Oops, hold on, 2 cards just fell out. We're going to grab them. Okay. So we got a King of Wands and a Queen of Wands. So a lot of court cards there. Meaning you have a lot of voices in your head about stuff. Beautiful. 2 of Cups. This is not a month to overcomplicate stuff. It's not, we're not trying to be complicated. We're not trying to be, yeah. This is about simplicity. This is about just doing what feels right and what feels manageable. Sun and the Moon reversed. Another 7 of Swords, but this time reversed. A Devil. Wait, did we? No, we didn't get a page. Did we? Oh, we did get a page. Oops, almost burned myself on that candle. Did get a page. Okay. Another Hanged Man. 5 of Coins. 7 of Wands with the Queen of Swords there. What else does Gemini need to know? Oh, another Queen of Swords. I love when that happens. And and a star. I feel like that Queen of Swords now has an energy of another person as well, which is highly positive influence. Magician, Hierophant, Nine of Coins reversed. Okay, so this is where we're going to pick up in the comprehensive. Really cool stuff coming through for you, Gemini. If you want to join, please check out the information down below. Thank you all so much. You guys know how much I love and adore you. Have an amazing month, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your astrology reading for January 2023. So I think let's go ahead and start with Mars, okay? Because this is going to be the most notable thing for you. And I know a lot of Geminis have been struggling. Mars is a malefic planet. He's a challenge. He's a challenger. He's a fighter. He's a warrior. He's not all fun and games like Venus, all right? He's here to do some pretty hefty work. And Mars can be very aggressive, but there's usually some kind of a mission in mind. And with his retrograde, I think Gemini has had an opportunity to really think about their life, and not necessarily in a philosophical, existential kind of way. We're not talking about Jupiter here, but thinking about like the execution of what needs to be done, thinking of a mission. What is the purpose of this? Where do I want to go, and how do I think I can really get there? And what type of life do I really want to lead, and who do I really want to be? I think there is a lot about the identity with not with Aries, let's say Mars, Aries, with Mars. There's a lot of identity with Mars. You know, there's a lot of considering your sense of self. You know, and some of you may have had some stuff going on with your physical bodies. You know, if you're not healthy, and this could be accentuated definitely with the South Node over here in the 6th house. If you're struggling with your health, this Mars retrograde may have like accelerated some symptoms so that you could better deal with it. You know, if you do have physical ailments, probably the best thing you can do over the next few months is do everything you can do to become as healthy as you possibly can. If you're perfectly healthy, then you can disregard that. And this probably does have a lot more about your sense of identity. But it is about you. And it probably has had to be about you, even though a lot of these other planets, you know, Sagittarius season, now Capricorn season, there's a lot about relationships going on in here too. You and other people, specifically probably one other person, a romantic partner maybe, or a business partner, or someone that maybe you're like bound to in some way, shape, or form. It's not always an easy setup, you know, to be bound to someone. And hopefully those relationships are going well, but if they're not going well and they've already been on kind of rocky ground, this Mars retrograde may have really kind of shook things up. Now, as it stations direct though on the 12th, any challenges, any problems, any issues that kind of flared up will likely be able to like get resolved over the next few months before Mars enters Cancer late in March, beginning of Aries season. And once he moves into Cancer, he's immediately going into his fall position, right? He's immediately like going to hit that Cancerian energy, and he's going to get dunked under into that water sign there. And there's going to be a lot of cooling that goes on. He can be a little bit hot here, I think, being in Gemini, because Gemini, Mercury energy, it can really be so versatile. And I think with his retrograde, it just kind of heated everything up. There was a lot of creativity, probably, a lot of ideas, a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, whatever the case is, but maybe also a lot of confusion that goes along with that, because you're like, well, now I don't know what the heck to do. I don't know what the heck I want. And that probably wasn't really aided all that much with Jupiter being in Pisces either. But Mars goes direct. Jupiter comes into Aries. So right? Jupiter came into Aries on December 20th. So we have a lot more, like I would call it arrow-like vision, you know? And if you haven't really sat down and thought about what you want your life to really look like long-term, and I do mean long-term, okay? I don't mean for the next 6 months. I mean, for the Pluto in Aquarius transit for the next 20 years. From now until 2044. I'm not joking about that. How do you really see yourself in 20 years? Because the decisions that you make now as Pluto begins its transition, they do matter. They do set the tone. And if you had known that back in 2008 when Pluto came into Capricorn, if you had known that the decisions, specifically the financial ones that you made at the beginning of like late 2007, early 2008, if you knew that those decisions mattered for the next, up until this point now, would you have made the same decisions? Maybe not, right? We have to think long term here. And so when you sit down and think about how you, like, where do you want to direct your arrow? Now, I'm not saying you can't revise it later. I know you're Mercury ruled. I am too. Like, we need a little bit of chaos in our lives. We need to be able to transition on a dime if we need to. Fine. But at least to give you some sense of direction. This is a great week to do that, to really sit down and be like, okay, self, what the heck do I want out of this life? And I wouldn't do like a big vision board or anything. I would just like get it clear up here in your mind. Okay. At least, right? You can write down a little vision statement or something like that. And just like really think about, if this is my super long-term 20-year goal, how can I begin? And how can I break that down into really small chunks? And what can I start doing now that's going to prepare me for that thing way over there? Okay. Mars direct. I love Mars energy for that. He's so mission oriented, right? That's what he's built for. This is in his blood. This is what he does. So if we can utilize it properly and we can lean into that, we can be way ahead of everybody else. We also have your ruling planet stationing direct on the 18th. Now, his Mercury's retrograde here in the 8th house probably does have you really looking at some of the obligations that you're in. And if you're in obligations or contractual agreements, or if you've made promises to people, or if you are somehow legally bound to people, this is probably a time where you're like, okay, if it's not working for me, how do I get out? You're probably trying to find an out. But I'm not saying that's for everything. Obviously, if you're happily married, that's just simply not the case, right? You'll probably be maybe even planning something together. You and your partner can be looking at your lives, and you can be looking about, your retirement goals and your financial investments and all sorts of things, and your jobs and your incomes and your little kingdom, your little empire. And you can say, all right, this is where we're at. How can we get more? And I don't want you to think that getting more is a terrible thing. I think getting more is just simply a part of spiritual expansion. The more you expand spiritually and intellectually, it's only natural that the material world is not far behind. So you've done a lot of work. Capricorn has really pushed you super hard. All the Capricorn activity in the it's not just Capricorn, it's like Capricorn in the 8th. It's like a double whammy of like grossness. It's tough. And you've been pushed, and so you have expanded, you have grown. And the question is, if your material world needs to catch up to that, what do you want that to look like? Because that's what's malleable. That's what can be, manifested in different ways for each and every one of you. And Venus here is moving into the 9th house on January 2nd. So right out of the gate, come January, Venus comes into this 9th house here. And being in the 9th house, she's, of course, like, okay, we need more. And she's going to value that. And it's not only more knowledge, because I know a lot of knowledge comes to that 9th house. And yes, there is a desire for higher level consciousness and religion and connection with God and all of that. But it's also material abundance, and maybe some of you are thinking about having children, or trying to amass a fortune of some kind. Venus is a planet associated with money in the 9th house. A lot of money comes through this 9th house. Not always necessarily on purpose. It's usually just an effect of you following your higher purpose here. Okay, so it's a spiritual house, but material reward follows. So Venus is here, and so she's really placing an emphasis on that. She's placing an emphasis on the expansion. And with Jupiter coming into this 11th house, which happened on December 20th, so that's kind of old news by now, but he is starting to speed up now. All right, now when Jupiter was here last time, okay, he's still in post-shadow phase right now, okay? He came up to, if I remember correctly, the 7th or 8th degree of Aries before he retrograded back into Pisces. So he's still in his post-shadow phase, but now he's starting to speed up. Last time in 2022 when he came into Aries, he was already kind of slowing down, right? Because he was already preparing for retrograde. So he wasn't like really giving you the full Jupiter and Aries benefits, but he is now. Chiron kind of messes that up a little bit, but that's okay. We can work with Chiron. But I do feel that there's a strong need for you to really make sure that your network is like super on point, okay? Your social networks online, your personal networks in real life, you have your professional networks, you have all different types of affiliations, right? You are a part of this industry, you have these particular hobbies and interests, your children are over here, your spouse is over here, you have all these different groups that you're a part of, political affiliations, all sorts of stuff. And right now, I think there's a lot of benefit to those networks in some way, shape, or form. There's a lot of benefit there. You can do great things with that network. And I was describing this with one of the other signs, I can't remember, but if we were to look at this solely as like the diurnal, what's called the diurnal rotation, all right? So every single day this wheel turns, every couple of hours we have a new zodiac sign coming up over this eastern horizon here. All right, so right now I have the clock set for like 2:26 p.m. Eastern time. I'm using a whole house system. So we have like Gemini coming up over the east, we have Sagittarius coming down over the west. So we know that the diurnal rotation is clockwise like this, okay, that these zodiac signs go in this direction, which means, right, that the 11th house, from this perspective, comes before the 10th house, going clockwise. 11, then the 10th. So what was I going to say? I was like, wait, it was clockwise or I was like getting confused. But okay, so then we know that the professional and personal networks and the people with whom you associate support the career. Just in the same way that like your career and everything that you've built here can also in certain ways bring you closer to God. And the closer you are to God, the more there's more transformation that can happen here. So we can like tell a little story that kind of goes opposite of the normal story that we say versus houses 1 through 12 that go in the counterclockwise direction. Just a little bit of food for thought. So this is important though, okay? Your personal networks absolutely support your career endeavors. And you have a lot of advantage with that right now with Jupiter here. So please don't sleep on this area. All right, there's a lot of positive things going on for you in terms of connecting. And with Mars now moving direct, people will likely look at you as some type of a leader. They'll look to you for advice. They'll look to you for ideas. They'll look to you for direction, whatever the case is. And you can probably leverage that into some kind of a promotion or into some kind of funding for something or, whatever the case may be. And I say, by all means, go for it. You deserve it, Gemini. 100% you deserve it. Last but not least, we have this full moon happening on the 6th of January, which is in Cancer. Now, I'm making a point to say this to every sign. So we have the very first full moon in over 6 months that is not conjunct a planet, okay? Back in July, we had the moon conjunct Pluto, and then it was Saturn, and then it was Neptune, and then Chiron, and then Uranus with the big eclipse, and then Mars with the Mars retrograde. And now the moon is free and clear here in her sign of rulership. She is in her kingdom, And the only like really substantial aspect that she's making is this sextile with Uranus, which is really beautiful. And Uranus is all about revolution and change and freedom, but Cancer, the zodiac sign of Cancer, offers that security. So you are safe to make these revolutionary changes in your life. All right, this is true across the board. For you, though, this is especially true with your finances because it's illuminating this second house. And it's really time for you to really release any kind of a narrative that you have around your money and really understand how your money situation is tied in with your sense of self-worth. And if you have struggled with your self-worth, not everybody has, but if you are someone who has, this is probably a great time where you are supported to say, maybe I don't necessarily feel like all this sense of self-value that everyone talks about all the time, but just because I don't feel it doesn't mean I have to act like it. Right? Just because I don't feel it doesn't mean I don't have to, it doesn't mean I can't still go out and succeed and do great things. And I think that's what the strength is here in this moon for Gemini, is that regardless of what is going on inside, you're just going to do it anyway. And it's almost as though, and I've said this for multiple weeks now, that the healing is done through action. And you're probably not going to really heal the self-value stuff or the traumas around money or whatever it is. You're not going to heal that stuff if you don't take action regardless, okay? Healing comes through doing what you know needs to be done and showing up for yourself. That is how value is built. That is how a sense of self-respect and a sense of self-value is built, okay? So this full moon is beautiful. I'm very excited about this full moon. I don't usually get like really amped up about moons, but I honestly think there's a lot to celebrate here with this full moon, and there's a lot to release, and there's a lot to kind of just like, I feel like we've been kind of, when you breathe in and you hold your breath, I feel like we've been holding our breath for a really long time, and it's time to like feel that sense of relief that comes when we exhale. That's how it feels to me. And when we exhale, feel like we can start breathing normally again. And as the planets start moving direct, right? Uranus goes direct on the 22nd. As we start going direct with all of these near the end of January, we're going to have the sun moving into Aquarius on the 20th. It's going to join Venus there. And it's going to just feel like everything starts to accelerate and everything starts to move forward. And that's a great thing and a great feeling. And it's something that I think a lot of people are like, oh, thank goodness. Finally, we're ready for things to start moving forward. Okay? It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. All right. It's just moving forward. That's all. All right. I'm going to leave you guys with that, Gemini. Thank you so much. You guys know I love you. Have an amazing month of January, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.